Hello, everyone. What a fun day. So many amazing speakers, so I'm honored to close it out. Hello, everyone. My name is Taryn Southern, and in the summer of 2007, I released my very first YouTube video. It was a lesbian love song for Hillary Clinton.
I have a crush on a girl named Hill, but she's not with me, she's with this guy named Bill. But there's one thing I know, I just can't sit still until I see Hill up on Capitol Hill. Hillary, I think I want you.
Yeah, sadly that one didn't turn out so well. Clearly before its time. But within 1 week of this video's release, it went viral. And as a result of this video, I got my first acting agent. I sold my first comedy pilot to MTV. I even showed up as a political correspondent for MSNBC and Fox News, despite the fact that I had zero experience with politics. And over the years, I continued to make videos. Now, at the time, if you had asked me what I did for a living, you probably would have gotten a very different answer. Actress, writer, comedian, singer, producer, host, you name it. But thanks to the digital revolution years later, I finally had a few new job titles to pick from. YouTuber, content creator, or my personal favorite, internetainer-preneur. But that was not the only thing that had changed. Within a decade, the balance of power had completely shifted. There was this explosion of digital content creators onto the scene who impacted how we consume entertainment, what we share, what we buy, even how we communicate. The rules and permission structures formerly governed by Hollywood had been completely dismantled by a group of fast-talking 20-somethings with smartphones. Now, looking back, it's pretty easy to see the parallels that exist between the earliest content creators on YouTube and this room right here, today's emerging blockchain community. Now, you guys have all had a lot of really smart people stand up here today and talk about the future, so I'm going to take you in a slightly different direction, to the past. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the lessons I've learned as an early YouTube creator that I believe are relevant to all of you here in this room and to what you are building, and how these lessons have led me to believe that the next technological media revolution will occur as a result of the blockchain. And finally, I want to invite you all to participate in a really fun creative experiment that has never before been done in history. And then I might just sing a song from my album and we can all get our drink on. First, let's go back to Hollywood, circa 2005. If you were an aspiring actor, producer, writer, etc., like myself, your odds of scoring a role in a television show or movie were roughly 1 in 10,000. Your odds of selling a script, 1 in 5,000. Your odds of dying on a bicycle, 1 in 4,472. And if you were lucky enough to actually score an agent, lucky enough to get the opportunity to get in the room to audition, lucky enough to actually secure the job, gatekeepers were not the only ones in your way. There were costs associated with the entry. You had to give 25% off the top to your agents, managers, attorneys. You never knew if your show was going to get canceled, if your movie would be a terrible flop, or if you'd find yourself killed off in season 3. And no matter how successful you were, you still had to worry about things like nepotism, aging, and Harvey Weinstein. The barriers to entry were extraordinarily high, the obstacles overwhelming, and the rules ambiguous. It was like playing a game of roulette, and there was really no clear path to winning. Meanwhile, a little platform called YouTube was born. Now, at the time, it was just a place for cat videos and prank videos and all kinds of content that was deemed far too unsophisticated for Hollywood. But to the average creator, it offered one simple solution: the chance to be seen. Whether by 5 people or 5 million people, it didn't matter. The actor who could never get an audition finally had a real-life audience, and the writer who could never sell a script finally had the chance to actually get it produced. And although the path to success wasn't an easy one, it was very clear. The more content you made, the more people tuned in. And there was a formula to that. More content equals more views, and later down the road, more views equaled more money. And I was not the only person who saw this. Many others did as well. But we did have a problem. See, to make content in Hollywood required spending millions of dollars, hiring hundreds of people in different departments, and tracking ratings with something called a Nielsen box. And in case you've never seen a Nielsen box, you're not the only one. This is what it looks like, but it's this thing that Hollywood would put in living rooms around the country to determine who was watching what, ostensibly, so that they could know what to charge advertisers. And it's about as accurate as using a tractor to bake a cake. So here we are in the early days of YouTube, and there's this group of creators, and they've got no money, no resources, in many cases, no experience even making content. If they were going to succeed, they needed better tools. So they started experimenting with things to maximize for efficiency and output, things like cheap DSLR movies, cheap software like iMovie. They built makeshift rigs using PVC piping from Home Depot. They built websites on WordPress and Wix, made music with free Apple loops, and God forbid they designed logos on Fiverr. They used data to determine exactly who was watching, when, where, and for how long, and they made adjustments to their content along the way. They largely ignored the system rules. The rules of filmmaking, for instance, like popularizing jump cuts in order to make their vlogs move quickly, and they used flashy text and easy-to-remember listicles in order to capture attention. They pushed the envelope, they shared their joys and their struggles with the world, and they did and said the things that you would never find on television. In a way, these guys weren't just creators, they were systems engineers. They were building and experimenting with new tools to build a system that gave them a chance to play the game. Many of them went on to have loyal audiences in the millions. So what does this have to do with the blockchain community? I mean, I think the parallels are very, very clear. Now, at the time, Hollywood couldn't even see that this was happening. I honestly think they were too busy lighting money on fire to pay attention to a bunch of kids on YouTube. But the rest of the world was paying attention. And in 2013, it became clear that Hollywood had been beaten a game that they didn't even know they'd have to play. So I think the people in this room are very much like the early creators on YouTube, questioning the status quo, eradicating unfair permission structures, unnecessary gatekeepers, ambiguous rules, glaring inefficiencies. The people in this room are building new tools and platforms to build the foundation for a better future. Now, the key question is, what will happen over the next year, 2 years, or decade? And in an era of exponential technology growth, with things moving as fast as they are, how do we all end up making sure that we don't end up like this? So about 3 years ago, I started asking myself this question. And at this point, I was deeply integrated into the YouTube system. So I had made over 1,500 videos over 5 years, and was providing active production and consulting services for brands and companies. But I was growing increasingly restless because the very reasons that I had actually sought out YouTube as a haven for my creativity were now the reasons that I was desperate to leave. For one, there were new power dynamics that had emerged. Instead of being a slave to Hollywood gatekeepers, many YouTube creators were now slave to something new, algorithm. With more than 100 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every single minute, and by more than 1 million verified YouTube content partners, the competition was so fierce and the ability to be seen was so difficult to crack that YouTube was no longer an effective discovery mechanism. All the algorithms cared about was how frequently you posted and how consistently. And to make matters worse, the rules of these algorithms were largely kept secret, revealed only in the aftermath of devastating drops to creators' monthly ad revenues. Furthermore, creators who had built up hundreds of thousands, if not millions of subscribers, had no way to reach these people. Subscribers only received maybe 1 to 10% of the emails of those that had subscribed to, notifying them of their favorite content creators posting. And finally, to pour salt in the wound, in 2013, YouTube committed $200 million to fund original content initiatives. Who did they fund? Does anyone know? No one? It's okay. You shouldn't, because they removed all references to their original channels initiative. They funded traditional Hollywood companies, not the community that had built them from the ground up. And so it should come as no surprise that almost every single one of these funded channels failed, not because they didn't have the resources, but because they had long operated with different rules and different tools and had no idea how to play this game. So here we are, it's 2017. creators still don't have a way to actively reach their subscribers. They're still highly reliant on YouTube's algorithms and on advertising. They rarely get funding to scale their projects. Earlier this year, creators saw an 80% drop, almost up to an 80% drop in their monthly revenues due to the ad apocalypse on YouTube, when YouTube inadvertently placed ads on ISIS recruitment videos and advertisers were just dropping like flies. So it became clear that the rebels of the digital revolution had made a mistake. They had built their house in someone else's backyard. Now, honestly, this talk is not meant to be a total bash on YouTube. I mean, they were the platform that gave rise to an entirely new framework for content and distribution and the independent content creator. But with all the bugs in the system, I made the decision about a year and a half ago to take my focus off YouTube. The platform that I had invested all of my time and aspirations into no longer provided the tools that I needed to build something of long-term value. So I started experimenting with tools like VR, AR, AI. I wanted to see how these tools could actually impact the creative process and create new ecosystems to play in. And of course, I also found myself fascinated by the blockchain, specifically investing into Ether and looking into how smart contracts could help solve a number of the problems that I faced as an independent artist. Now, there are a number of companies out there, and many of you may be in this room, like Ujo Music, Singular DTV, Tokenly, and others who are working on solving these problems related to finance and distribution in the creative industry in an effort to build a more transparent, fair system. I, too, am developing a project with Consensus that will give artists with audiences an alternative way to collectively leverage their influence so they're less reliant on third-party platforms and advertisers. But before I announce that project later down the line, I want to demonstrate the power of smart contracts for artists and the community at large by launching a little experiment. I want to create a song with you, the blockchain community, in which you'll own a stake in. So to participate, you just enter your public Ethereum wallet address and you'll be issued a token. And this token will give you access to participate in writing of the lyrics and a percentage of ownership in the song, just like any other piece of music made with other multiple collaborators. And once the song is released, we will all share in the song royalties paid out by a legal entity called a smart trust, which is controlled and owned by an Ethereum smart contract. Now, in doing this experiment, you all will get to see exactly what happens to a creative asset, from development and production to distribution to royalty payments. And it costs nothing for you. The fun part is, if the song actually becomes a top 10 hit on the radio, well, then we can all share in its success and get a nice dinner at Chipotle. So if you ever want to be part of the first ever tokenized collaboration song, you can just visit this QR code on the screen or the link right above there. Now, I should probably move away from the QR code so you can actually see it. Now, it's always been the case that new technologies come along that challenge the status quo. And it's these reasons that I'm betting that blockchain and smart contracts will fuel the next creative revolution. But for these technologies to really take hold, we need to pull back the curtain, expose the full pipeline of industry, and provide the community with top-to-bottom solutions, not just Band-Aids. Like the early creators on YouTube, we're also transforming the future. But this time, we're building the house in our own backyard, not someone else's. And on that note, I would like to share with you a song off of my upcoming album, composed entirely with artificial intelligence. I think this is a song that many of you here in this room may relate to. It's about a human who wishes to desire to break free from limitations. So here we are with Break Free. Oops, I need to learn how to use these. Turn the music up, please. Even more.
I wish I could see beyond what I can see. I wish I could touch beyond what I can touch. I wish I could feel beyond what isn't real. I wish I could imagine, yeah. There's more to who we are. There's more to what we could be. As I feel the weight of being wish I could taste beyond what I can taste. I wish I could sense beyond the present tense. I wish I could imagine, yeah. There's more to who we are. There's more to what we could be. As I feel the weight of being, I'm learning how to break free. I'm breaking free. I'm breaking down, breaking free. I tried to walk a mile in someone else's mind, but underneath a smile, we all feel quarantined. There's more to who we are. There's more to what we could be. As I feel the weight of being, I'm learning how to break free. I'm breaking free. I'm breaking down, breaking free. Thank you very much. Now I hope you'll all join me in writing an awesome song and in enjoying the cocktail hour in the back. Thank you all for coming to Ethereal Summit.